What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today is day 5 of the second annual 10 Days of Pumpkin here on the channel. And the beer I'm reviewing today comes from the Two Roads Brewing Company, and they're out of Stratford, Connecticut, and this is their Roadsmary's Baby. So they're calling this a pumpkin ale that is brewed with pumpkin and spices, and then aged in rum barrels with vanilla beans. Comes in at 6.8% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed at the time of review. This can is just under 3 months old. So this was a beer that didn't make the cut for the first annual 10 Days of Pumpkin last year on the channel, and I ended up giving that can to my dad, who ended up really liking it, so he bought another can of it this year. And then I was just like, you know what, didn't make the cut last year, so why not throw it in this year's 10 Days of Pumpkin? So here we are now. A viewer of the channel, Brent, he actually dropped a little bit of knowledge on this beer. So this is not a 100% barrel-aged beer. They actually take 75% fresh pumpkin ale and they blend it with 25% rum barrel-aged pumpkin ale. So this is a blended barrel-aged beer. They do have a 100% rum barrel-aged beer called Roadsmary's Other Baby. And that is more of a limited local release. I think Brent said they are, they released that in 500 milliliter bottles. It's on draft. We do get some special draft releases from Two Roads here in the West New York area, but I've never seen that one. So if I can get my hands on that at some point in the near future, or maybe next year, I will do it for the third annual 10 Days of Pumpkin. But I'm pretty excited to give this one a go. I really haven't heard too much about this. Not a lot of my friends, as far as I know, have tried it. So yeah, pretty interesting beer, I think. Rum barrel aged anything's. Usually for me, I really like rum barrel aged beers. Rum barrel aged pumpkin beers, you have Southern Tiers, and I've had another one. I forgot the other one that I had, but they usually mix well with the beer because the rum spices usually are well integrated with like the spices from the pumpkin beer. So anyway, let's pour this in a glass, see what we got going on. So yeah, that has a really nice color to it. Go by about like that with it. All right, so that pours out this really nice. Wow, that's like a deep amber, burnt orange, almost like red tinges to it. That looks awesome. That's like a deep copper color, honestly, a rust color. That looks cool. I like it. It's much darker in the middle. Of course, I have the light shining, so it's going to be brighter on the outside, but has a nice murky look to it. I had about a half finger of this straight up khaki colored head, cream colored head that is dissipated to about a quarter finger. Looks relatively creamy though. Yeah, looks like a good beer. Let's give a good pumpkin beer, I should say. Let's get a nose on it. So very subtle in the aroma. I pick out a little bit. There's a little bit of the rum here. It's not really barrel forward, and when you have a beer like this that's only 25% of the barrel and it's blended, I don't expect the barrel to really show through huge in the aroma, and it doesn't. But I'm getting like a little bit of like the rum spice. Definitely picking up on the vanilla. It could be a little bit from the barrel. Could also just be from the vanilla beans in here, which I would imagine it is. Definitely picking up on ginger. There's more of a ginger cloviness than like a cinnamon allspice feel to this one, or nutmeg. I get like ginger and clove from the spices. Has a lot of that brown sugar, brown sugar, caramelized sugar. And I'll say that a lot during most of these pumpkin reviews because that's what it has. It just has like a nice sugary component to it, but it's like a deeper, darker sugar component as opposed to like the, straight up like just regular sugar, right? Yeah, it smells good. It's cool that I'm actually getting the rum, despite the fact that this is like only a quarter rum barrel aged. So yeah, it smells pretty good. It smells very inviting. So let's get into it. Cheers, everybody. Very nice. This is very nice. Obviously, that barrel age portion isn't going to come through in spades in this one. I kind of expected it based on the blend. But it's here and slightly noticeable, and that's nice. Body on this one's lower side of medium body at 6.8%, maybe a touch thin, but it's okay. The mouthfeel, soft, smooth, slightly creamy. Just a little bit of creaminess here, but it does have a nice carbonation to it as well. Very drinkable at 6.8%. I can't tell you this is this drink's like a 5% beer, just with the flavors being subtle, but also there's no alcohol perceived anywhere on my palate, in my chest, stomach, nothing. So right from that brown sugar pretty much hits a little bit of like a breadiness, passes through the palate. That ginger and clove I was talking about in the taste definitely hits mid palate. And then I get a touch, an ever so slight touch of like a rum spice characteristic, and there's also a slight oaky tannin thing going on. So I'm getting a little bit of the oak, a little bit of the spirit itself, but it is very minute and subtle and dialed back, and you'd expect that from a blended barrel-aged beer. Finish is slightly dry, decent residual sweetness, and I feel like the spices are kind of drying out my palate. And I say that a lot when I drink pumpkin beers because a lot of them have like a dryness. There still is some residual sugar, so it usually has like a semi-dry finish. But I always feel the dryness in these beers are different than the dryness I would get in a regular beer that'd be, oh, it's quite dry. This one could be a little bit from the oak tannins, maybe a touch from the spices as well. And that's what I feel like the dryness isn't just like dryness from the alcohol or the beer itself. It's actually from the spices and maybe the oak presence here. This is what I say. This is a pretty solid beer, pretty good. I enjoy it. I think I would like to see the 100% barrel-aged offering from them. I think the rum would work perfectly with this beer, especially an imperial. I think that's an imperialized version. I imagine that's like 9% or something. This one at 6.8%, this has always been the slight issue for me when it comes like sub 7% or even sub 8%, just like non-imperial beers in general. When they are barrel-aged, whether it is a blend or even 100%, I always feel something goes wrong with them. Either the barrel itself is too overwhelming, or the base beer just can't hold up to the barrel, or it's very weak and you just don't get the base characteristics. In this one, I just feel like, or a lot of times they'll only maybe age them for 6 weeks or 2 months, and then you don't get enough of the barrel into the beer. I feel in this one, they blended it, and I do get a little bit of an accentuation of the rum barrel, but I would want to see a little bit more of it in here because I feel like I'm getting a decent amount of the base, and I'm only getting a hint of that rum. So I would like to see like a 50-50 or maybe even like a 67-33. I'd like to see a little bit more of the blend in here than just 25%. But that's me personally. Maybe some people out there really love that this one is quite cohesive and blended and whatnot. But for me, I would like to see a little bit more oomph and a little bit more character and just overall just flavor from the barrel itself. But as is, I can't really say this is a bad beer at all. It's not one of my favorite pumpkin beers, but it's pretty good. So I'm going to give Roadsmary's Baby, the 2019 release from Two Roads, a high 3.75 out of 5. I'll go 3.85 out of 5. This doesn't get to the 4 range. I just need a little bit more overall from this one. It's a very subtle and light drinking beer at 6.8%. I will say this, if you want a pumpkin beer with a little bit more ABV to it, a higher ABV, but you don't want to be overwhelmed by what you're tasting, this would be the one for you. I think this drinks like a 5.5-6% beer, and it's almost 7%. So you could drink 2 or 3 of these. Your palate wouldn't be shot, and you'd be feeling good and get a little bit of a buzz on. So yeah, anyway, 3.85 out of 5, Roadsmary's Baby from Two Roads. Pretty good beer. I enjoy it. I would love to try the 100% imperialized version of this though, because I think I would enjoy that a little bit more. Price and availability on this one. Price point on this one was either 12 or 13 bucks a 6-pack, I believe. So you're talking like anywhere between $2 to $2.50 a can. Pretty good value, I think. I think I paid, I think it was like $2.29 or something for this can, so very reasonable considering the ABV and what's going on in here. And availability, wherever Two Roads gets distribution. I've seen this the last 3 years in my area, so if you get Two Roads in your area, you should see this at some point. If you don't, you probably won't. So yeah, anyway, good beer. I enjoy it. Appreciate everybody stopping by for another pumpkin beer review here on the 10 Days of Pumpkin. Check back tomorrow for day 6, which will be Trogue's Master of Pumpkins. That should be an enjoyable one and one I've never had before as well. So appreciate everybody stopping by. To the next one. Cheers.